Recording in progress.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I think our virtual room is very crowded by now, so let me welcome
I think Liv's microphone is on mute, so we cannot hear her.
Oh no, that's a pity. So I restart.
Yes, now we can.
Well, I did my part. It's great to see this room crowded. It's a virtual room and it's good to see all of you. Ladies and gentlemen, let me welcome you to this digital press conference. I know you are joining from all over Europe. I see your names, and I even heard that some people are joining from Vietnam. That's great to hear. So let me welcome all of you. The EcoBEST Challenge 2022 is already the 4th edition of this first European independent real traffic test of mainstream EVs to reveal the real green credentials. The methodology is inspired by the practical needs and driving behaviors of most European motorists coming from their habits in their daily commuting. The prestigious AUTOBEST jury members, of whom I've seen already some here in this virtual room, consists of 31 jury members coming from 31 European countries. In addition, key international media members are invited to test drives the cars on various roads, motorways, and city environments in Quattro Route Variano to ensure that results are backed by the utmost transparency and reliability. So you might ask, who are the people behind this year's challenge? Let me shortly introduce you to the key figures. And for later, you are very welcome to ask questions to them, but we keep that part to the end of the press conference. So first, I would like to introduce Dan Vardier, the founder and chairman of AUTOBEST. You know all of him. He's the founder and chairman of Europe's leading motoring writers organization, who is basically the inventor of this whole challenge. Then secondly, let me introduce you to Alessio Viola, road test chief editor of Quattro Route, Gianluca Pellegrini, director of Quattro Route, Leonardo Spaccone, creator of Oppo, and fourth, Jean-Christophe Mercier, the deputy CEO of VinFast Europe. And I would like to start this press conference with asking a few questions, but we keep the main questions to the end of the press conference. Jean-Christophe, VinFast is all over the news right now, and you've basically become a star in Europe by now. How do you experience the situation currently?
So, hello, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Jean-Christophe Mercier. I'm Deputy CEO in VinFast Europe, and we are very proud to accompany AUTOBEST on the journey of driving the electrification revolution in Europe as an official sponsor of the EcoBEST Challenge 2022. This is the world's first real traffic electric vehicle test with the goal of delivering information about electric vehicle models more transparently, thus increasing public awareness of the advantages of switching to environmentally friendly green-powered vehicles. VinFast, we believe that the destination to the future of sustainable mobility can only be reached when everyone goes together, and consumers are the critical driver of this movement. For this reason, we always put the customers in the center of all our product and service development efforts, go-to-market and expansion plans to assist them in their transitions to electrified mobility. As you may know, VinFast has set up its headquarters in France, Germany, and the Netherlands, and is rapidly developing a retail network in these countries. The first stores will be opening very soon. We have also developed a network of reputable partners in Europe to develop comprehensive charging solutions and an extensive charging network, innovative and flexible financial solutions for customers, as well as industry-leading services to provide European customers with great ownership experience. We hope the programs like ECOBEST Challenge will enable VinFast to get closer and become a trusted and brand to electric vehicle customers in Europe. We also hope to continue to accompany AUTOBEST and together with other electric car companies to drive the European transition from internal combustion engine cars to electric vehicles for a green future for everyone on our planet. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Jean-Christophe. And I would like to hand over to Gianluca Pellegrini. How was it for you to partner this year with the EcoBest Challenge?
Well, thank you. And, you know, it's always a pleasure working with AUTOBEST and my old friend, Dan. And this has been a very special occasion. You know, we are extremely proud here at Quattro Ruote of our testing facilities and our testing competences. And it has been a privilege to use them for such an interesting test. Electric vehicles, electric cars are the future of our automotive industry. And our mission, I believe, as motoring journalists, is to deliver to consumers all the information they need for the right choice. And I firmly believe as well that these tests are extremely important to build a public knowledge about the mobility of the future. So I understand everything went well, and you did a great job, and hope forward to working with AUTOBEST again. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Gianluca. And that was the perfect overload to come to Dan. Dan, now let's reveal the key data figures and indexes of this year's challenge, the part we've been waiting for.
Thank you, Liv. Good morning, everybody. It's really a privilege to have you here online, but it's good to have you here in Europe. We are still healthy. We can still discuss, which is great. We have a lot of good news, and I will start by delivering my personal big thanks to Jean-Christophe and to VinFast, personally to Chairman Pham, who believed from the very beginning in this mission of AUTOBEST, in discovering what is going on today and tomorrow in the car industry, who believed in this EcoBest challenge as the only one European unbiased project to see how the cars, the electric cars, are really performing in terms of green credentials. And we will start immediately the presentation. Laura, please put the presentation. And I will continue by thanking also to Gianluca and to Alessio, my partners in crime from Quattro Ruote, because, you know, Quattro Ruote, beyond being the Italian car Bible, it's really the best automotive car magazine in Europe, owning an proving ground center where you can do really any kind of measurements you need. I also want to thank Leonardo, which is the owner of Power Cruise Control, the company who developed the application. We will talk about this app, Power Check Control, which was fundamental to our drive test, to our measurements. I want to thank Oppo and EGAP. And now let's go to the presentation. I will emphasize one by one the key findings, figures, and obviously our famous indexes and what does it mean for the end consumer. So let's go to the next slide. As you know, this year, as mentioned, it was supported by Quattro Ruote and is electrified by VinFast, and we will continue this partnership at least for the next year, because we believe together, as you noticed, that this is the best way to check the real green credentials of all the cars in test, you have to know that this test is totally transparent, neutral, and balanced as an approach. The results come from a consistent methodology of testing performed identically on all the 14 cars of this year. And this methodology is inspired by the practical needs and driving behavior of most European motorists coming from the habits in their daily commuting. To be very clear, our program, EcoBest Challenge, is not designed pro or con to any kind of models or brands, is neither a typical motoring media comparative test, nor a record-breaking range test, or by contrast, is not a rally speed test to check how agile the EVs are. The EcoBest Challenge states the results and does not comment on the differences between models in the test. The test results, as you will see, are available to the European consumer as a basis for their decision-making process. I want to say very clearly that you will not hear from us that a car with, for instance, a bigger range, real range, is better than a car with a smaller range, or whatever kind of considerations is not our mission. The mission of EcoBest Challenge and AUTOBEST is simply give very reliable, diverse data to the millions of European consumers. They will do their own choice, not us. So next slide, please. Here is a picture from Vairano. As you can see, this is a part of the Vairano proving ground. I use this picture because you can see, first of all, visually all the cars, all the 14 cars which been tested this year. Also, you will see here a part of the people. Let me say that the selection process was going on. Last year, we had 15 cars, and obviously, we did not test the same cars this year. We selected the next level of cars. Therefore, we went up to 67,000 euros without tax. I mean, the prices of these cars in Italy. Next slide. And here, it's a part of the team I want to show you for one particular reason. One of the key elements of our test is the so-called human random factor. This is something we invented at AUTOBEST. And the meaning is that we put all these people coming from so many nations to drive the cars on a certain circuit, keeping their behaviors, which we believe is very close to the so-called average European consumer. And to tell you the nations, just to give you some examples from the picture: Spain, Slovakia, Bulgaria, Cyprus, Italy, Croatia, Macedonia, Romania, Netherlands, Turkey, Finland, and Germany. You see, it's so diverse. We cannot point out any kind of particular driving behavior. Next slide, please.
I apologize to interrupt. There are a few more people that want to join and they're waiting to be accepted in the room. So if you could please accept.
Okay, please go back because I can't see them, and I will.
Okay.
Okay, let me check where they are. No, it looks like. No, I don't have any more. Let's go back to the presentation, Laura. This is another picture which is showing a part of our little secret. Here you have the eGap, which is a mobile fast charging station service, which is delivering high-speed DC high-speed charging process. And we use this system to feed with a minimum quantity of energy after the car's been totally depleted. Because as you will see in the figures, we do a special life after zero battery as we call it. Next slide. Here you have the application provided by Leonardo, by his company, which is on an Oppo mobile. This is the interface. You will see here a lot of data, so you don't have to keep in mind because there are so many. This was good because via OBD system, it's a wireless connection. And with this application, for the first time, we've been able to check almost everything you can imagine. Therefore, we have a lot of informations, including the graphs of discharging, even the temperature of the battery in different moments. We knew it from the beginning, obviously, what is the state of health of battery. And for the first time, we published this, which is an important indicator that all the cars been in the right shape to be tested. Next slide. Now, we go for some of the key figures, and that's obviously very important. First of all, in our history, 2 models surpassed the homologated range under the WLTP cycle, which is big thing for the industry. So for the first time, the real range for 2 models, as you'll see in the figures, are better than the WLTP cycle. 7 out of the 14 of the mainstream EV achieved more than 80% of their homologated WLTP range, and 5 unfortunately reached less than 80% of WLTP range. Compared with last year, it's good because we have 2 cars better than everything happened, but it's not so good because some of the cars was performing less in this EcoC 1 index, which is representing the ratio between the real range and the so-called WLTP official range. Also, let's say very importantly that EcoBest Challenge, last year we pioneered this test. What is going to happen with your car after the battery indicator on the cluster, it's showing 0. We all know that if it's about a mobile phone, if your mobile phone is saying 0, you are dead. Your phone is switching automatically off. Fortunately, the car engineers thought that this is not acceptable for an electric car. And therefore, we measure what is going on after this 0. This year, we had new surprises. 12 out of 14 cars demonstrated a strategic reserve of between 3 and 23 kilometers. However, 2 cars stopped immediately after the indication was 0 battery on the cluster. That's a first in the history of EcoBest Challenge, and I guess it's one of the very first for the car industry. As I said, with the EcoBest Challenge app, we managed to have a lot of data. So we will come back. Next slide. Now, we emphasized our proprietary indexes. As I said, EcoC 1 is that ratio from real range to the WLTP, and EcoC 2, it's also extremely important. In our opinion, this is the most important thing because it's a simple definition on the energy efficiency we have on EV. And in our proposal, and hopefully we see more and more car makers, OEMs adopting this idea, it's simply how many kilometers your car can go with 1 kilowatt hour of battery, because obviously if we talk about 1 kilowatt hour, it's absolutely the same everywhere, but obviously 1 kilowatt hour can do one thing in one car and completely different on a different car. This year, unfortunately, this is probably the worst news for the industry. We are far away from the world record, or the European record, better to say, of EcoC 2 of last year, which we remind you was 8.07 kilometer per kilowatt hour. This year, the best result is only 6.65 kilometers per kilowatt hour, and only 5 cars exceeding 6 kilometers per kilowatt hour. And to be honest, and you will see the figures, 2 cars were unable to achieve 5 kilometers per 1 kilowatt hour, which is also worse than last year. In our opinion, this is a step back in the development of the electric cars. We believe strongly in AUTOBEST that our mission is to go strongly to the best efficiency, the best way to spend the energy stored or produced on board of the electric cars. Is the only way to win the competition. We are all of us together in Europe for using in a better way the energy. We also emphasize the EcoC free index, which is the ratio between the real energy charged into the battery and the official net capacity, a clear expression of the charging process efficiency. There is no secret. We revealed for the first time last year. This year, we just see exactly the same situation. The reality is that when you charge your electric car, you actually charge more energy than the net capacity of the battery. And here there are scientific explanations. That's a reality. The only thing we say is that actually, as a consumer, you pay a little bit more energy than the one you have really in your battery. And as someone said nicely from Quattro Rote, from our team, they said nicely that actually this quantity of energy is escaping the trip computer, which is true. And with this occasion, we also introduced a new index, the EcoC4, which is like EcoC2, indicating the real energy filled into the battery, how many kilometers you really go for one real kilowatt hour, because obviously you put more, as I said, than the capacity of the battery. Next slide, please. Now, easily you have the figures here. Just to introduce the cars, for the first time we had 3 cars from China, iWays, U5 Prime. We have MG4 Luxury and Ceres 3. Everything is alphabetical order. The other cars, again, by alphabetical orders from Europe and Asia. Audi Q4 e-tron Sportback 40 S-Line Edition, BMW i4 eDrive 40 Sport, Ford Mustang Mach-E all-wheel drive extended range, Hyundai Ioniq 5 all-wheel drive Evolution, Kia Niro EV Evolution, Kia EV6 rear-wheel drive Air, Mercedes-Benz EQA 250 Plus Range Plus Edition, Renault Megane E-Tech Electric EV60 Iconic, Skoda Enyaq 480 Executive, and Volkswagen ID4 First Max. As I said, you have the Italian prices without tax in front of you. Clear to mention, please write down whatever you want. Anyway, the press release is going to be live on the AUTOBEST.org site, and you'll have all these figures there. We also offer the power of the engine, the battery, gross and net capacity, the WLTP range, minimum and maximum. And for the record, we used just the minimum in our calculations, just to give a better performance to all the cars. Then you have the real range as discovered by our measurements. To be very clear, you invited only cars with minimum 200 kilometers, which it is the case, as you can see easily. Then we have this range from 0 when the battery is totally depleted. You see all the results here. You see who is 0, as mentioned, the 2 cars. You see which are the figures, how big. Again, compared to last year, it's less and we will have the last graph, we will have the figures of last year. Then you have the EcoC2. You can see who are the cars with more than 100%. Then you can see also who are the winners of EcoC2 to this edition. Next slide, please. Now here you have the other important figures, which is new. We have the AC charging data. We used 22 kilowatts chargers. You see that the capability of charging is obviously extremely depending on the capability of cars, of each car to absorb energy. Yes, we have one car which can take 22, and obviously it's going faster than all the others. As mentioned, EcoC3 is the efficiency of energy. As you see, the figures are showing that is better than last year, which is clearly showing all of us that the industry is seriously preoccupied to come down with spending the energy for nothing, let's say, which is great. Then EcoC4, it's, as I said, the best way to understand how many kilometers in reality you can get for a really charged kilowatt hour. And then you have obviously the charging time. And for the first time, we introduced this extremely important criteria: time to charge 100 kilometers. Obviously, the time is quite long, but that's typical AC charging times. That's nothing, no surprise. It's obvious, even from our EcoBest challenge test, to understand for all the European consumers that AC charging is very good to make it home during the night or during the day at the office. That's the best and the only ways it's advisable, because other than that, AC charging, it's taking, as you can see, from 59 minutes to more than 2 hours for just 100 kilometers. Now let's go to the next slide. Laura, next slide, please. Yeah, this is the DC charging. For the first time, we used 350 kilowatts chargers, which is fantastic because it's offering the maximum possibility of charging electric cars in DC. And also we used this typical recommended cycle from 20% to 80%. It's important to say that the charging graphs for AC is always almost linear, but when you charge DC, is not a linear process. It's a bit more complicated process and is always depending on the car and the battery. Therefore, we did the same process, but from 20 to 80. And we measured the real energy charged, and also very important, we measured from 20 to 80 the charging time. And as you can see, it's a completely different discussion. And even more, and probably this is the best news for all the European people looking to buy a car. The time to charge 100 kilometers, it's an average, once again, is an hypothesis of working, because in reality it's a bit more complicated, but to simplify for the European consumers, to make easily to understand, for the first time we prove clearly that if you have the right charging DC charging station, then you can go for 100 kilometers to a minimum of only, for instance, 7 minutes. Or for 12 minutes for 100 kilometers. This is or 9 minutes for Volvo XC40. It's such a great news. And this is showing, dear friends, once again, how important it is to have the right network for DC fast charging in Europe. We strongly believe at AUTOBEST that in the next 2-3 years, the progress of the chemistry of batteries, the engineering of batteries will come very close to the ideal situation where will be no big difference between filling the tank with classical fuels or simply, of course, with dots, filling the tank, filling the battery with enough energy to go to the next step. So we are on this on the way. We are on this process, and it looks that we are in industry. There is a very good progress, and obviously, if you look to the timings to charge 100 kilometers in DC fast charging compared with AC, there is unbelievably huge difference. So next slide. These are the figures of last year. You see the EcoC 2, the record of last year. Again, here are by segments and by alphabetical order. There is no point, no other reason to put it here. You have the EcoC 1, the real range versus the WLTP, and the range of zero battery, the life after the battery is dead. I'm quick in saying, which is one of our important statements, we recommend to all the European consumers never ever been in the situation to use this strategic reserve. Please look it as a strategic reserve. Please go to charge before the battery will show you zero on the cluster. However, if this situation will occur, don't panic. You still have something left in your battery. It's the secret reserve. Being said that, Laura, I think the last slide is yes. Being said that, you have more information on our AUTOBEST.org. Thank you very much, Laura. You can switch off. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dan, for this impressive data. And I would like to give the chance to the audience to raise your hand and ask questions if there are any questions, because we heard a lot about a lot of data. In case you are interested to ask a question, there's a little smiley button down on the screen. It says reactions. You can click that, and then it shows you a waving hand. You can click that too, and then I see your wish to ask a question. There are no questions so far, so let me ask a question to you, Dan. It's the 4th edition now. How did the results of the past 3 tests change compared to this one, or better, let's say this tests compared to the other ones? And do you have the impression that the car manufacturers learned something out of the tests of the EcoBEST challenge?
Thank you for the question. It's a very good one and quite complex. Yes, I think they learned, although they say it or not, definitely they learned. EcoBEST Challenge was a project born many years ago. It's more than 10 years when we announced for the first time the idea of making an EcoBEST. Back then we had so many ideas to make measurements, but soon we realized that it's quite expensive and complicated. So we come down to this solution of testing EV cars only. I remember one of the biggest organization in Brussels, also an ONG like ourselves, AUTOBEST, asked me why we are not testing also plug-in hybrids. And I explained that I would love to do that, but we need a huge budget because testing plug-in hybrids, it's a much more complex process than testing electric cars. And I'm referring here clearly to the pollutants, to the emissions, not only the CO2, which of course, it's the most important, becoming carbon neutral is obviously the most important discussion in Europe. But it's good to not forget that also from the ICE engines, we have, unfortunately, a lot of pollution. The evolution of us was important also in the sense of going better and better in how we organize the test every year, what kind of measurements we can make, and what kind of results we can present. That's always good to see there is a clear progress. As I mentioned, together with our partners, we've been able to have this new app, which is helping a lot. It's good to see that there are some progresses on some of the indexes, but also it's not so good to see that things are not going very well. But it's clear to me that the industry is now, first of all, probably preoccupied in delivering the range, in delivering some kind of performance, and it's a bit less focused on energy efficiency. That's quite normal because the people around the world are still afraid of buying some electric cars for this reason, that range anxiety. It's a learning process. If you look to Norway, they, which is by far the best example in Europe, they learned very clearly that there is no reason to be afraid of real range. There is no reason to believe that you will have always a problem with that. If you look to Norway, more than 90% of the people are charging back home, and they are doing very well. The electrification process, electric cars are dominant on Norway. Even in China, the numbers are very, very impressive. So yes, the industry was focused on converting the ICE cars to the electric cars, and they've been a bit lost talking about energy efficiency. But what we believe is that they are coming back. Actually, it's interesting that last year we've been the very first after our EcoBest challenge to mention the idea that we need to target 10 kilometers for 1 kilowatt hour of battery in the car, to be as a first step to become, hey, we have to be efficient. And it's interesting that after us, there is a big OEM, a big car maker, who did the same statement, which, by the way, was also this year in the EcoBest challenge. Liv, I think you have some questions.
I have some questions. Felix was the first one to ask, to raise the hand.
I have a question. If you take into account this, the EcoC 2, that this year it's bigger and heavier cars than last year. So is that the reason the number is lower? Maybe it's a question for Alessio.
Alessio?
Yes, I had no chance to understand what he asked because it's very metallic, the sound.
Yes. I think Dan did
Dan,
understand.
did you understand?
Yeah. Felix is asking if the explanation for an EcoC 2 worse than last year as an average is because of the cars being heavier than the last year average.
Yes, the car that we tested last year were smaller, were A and B segment. This year, not to have the same car of the last year, of the previous edition, we had to move to an upper level in the market. So all the cars were heavier and bigger. And even about aerodynamics figures, we had a different approach. Most or less, I think that. And last year, we did not have the EcoC 4, that is the actual consumption and efficiency index. We just had the EcoC 2.
Okay, and another question is that I see the Skoda has, it was one of the cars that managed to with longer range than the WLTP figures, but the WLTP figures seems to be wrong. Official.
No, these are, yes, these are the I don't know if they are right, but they are the official figures, because I don't know why they changed the VLTP homologation, and this is the one that you get from them now, at least in Italy.
Okay, because
I know that it was really greater, the previous one.
Okay.
6 months ago, when we tested the car, we had a different VLTP. We tested it last year in May or June, if I'm not wrong. And from Skoda, we get a figure that it was different from this. I know because I started using the previous one, and then I updated every data, and I saw that. And this is not the only case in which they changed it and they made a smaller VLTP.
Okay, just to be clear, because in Sweden we have 512 to 538 kilometers, and here it's stated 383. That's more than 150 kilometers less.
I know.
Okay.
That's a very interesting question for Skoda, I think. Why did they change the range?
They told me that it was a new homologation.
Okay.
Okay.
It's not the only case that we had, considering the initial figures they provided 6 months ago, 1 year ago, when they gave us the car for the first test, and today, and more than one, I repeat.
Okay.
Let me add a few considerations, Felix, because you know very well this, unfortunately, this situation. First of all, it's clear that the weight of the car, it started to become a very important criteria when you design the car. And as you see, it's funny, there is nothing new. We knew that about the weight of the car since ages. We knew that we have to do lighter cars. And it looks like for the energy efficiency, you need to have a lighter car. That's an obvious observation. And obviously, we believe that the car engineers, the designers, will think seriously in the future how to make it lighter and still affordable. And obviously, the bigger the car you have, the bigger the battery or the bigger the mass you have, the less efficiency you have. That's a typical consideration you have to keep in mind. Not we as consumers, but the car industry. If they want to reach a good efficiency, they need to think seriously how to design car in the future, and not simply translating from ICE cars to the EV cars, because it's not working easily like that. Also, it's true what Alessio said, the aerodynamics should be much more refined in the future to get a better result. It looks like some of the OEMs, for the sake of some shapes which are usually polarizing but still selling well, they tend to forget about this criteria. And they sometimes, we saw, and it happened many times with our own AUTOBEST roundtables, we saw that some OEMs are happy with, let's say, so-and-so average results in aerodynamics. And I don't understand why they don't want to be the best in the world with this. So overall, it's clear to me after all these tests that industry should think seriously how to develop cars, how to design cars in this way of being lighter, being more aerodynamic, being with new chemistry for batteries, with more dense energy, because all this can altogether go for the efficiency of the electric cars in the future. Liv?
Thank you, then. Stefan? Sorry.
Mentioned that you checked the temperature of batteries. Could you tell us how the fast charging process influences into the temperature of battery, or on the other side, how the temperature of the battery influences into the fast charging process?
I will say a few words, and then I will invite Leonardo, if he accepts, to say a few words. These informations are not for for being published, as we discussed. We don't want to publish this because it's too deep for the European regular consumer, and it will be extremely diverse and complicated to explain all these processes. However, it's less spectacular that some people might believe. Anyway, I will invite Leonardo to say a few words, just few words, Leonardo, about this temperature evolution during the charging process.
Thank you, Dan. Charging process means that energy flows to the battery. The same apply also during this charging process when energy flows in the opposite sense. Starting from the initial temperature, depending on battery car maker strategy, battery temperature will increase to a set point, and also kilowatt power of charging process will increase after when the maximum temperature allowed will reach it, the charging speed begin to decrease accordingly to each car, each vehicle, each car maker particular strategy.
Are you happy with that answer? Stefan? That was okay, good. Are there more questions? Then I would ask another question to Dan. What was the biggest surprise within all of these tests?
That's a very tough question. Honestly, the Chinese manufacturers, both good and bad in the same time. I don't want to jump into this discussion. I remember a very famous top executive in one of our AUTOBEST roundtables in Paris who told us, I will not go in this. But as you all know, we are now in a very sensitive point in time. And we at AUTOBEST, we believe a kind of debate, I will not say it a war, but a kind of debate will start between European Union, European Commission, and Chinese car manufacturers. And that was indicated in Paris Motor Show by all the top executives, by Bruno Le Maire, the Minister of Industry and Finance of France, and other top executives that for the European producers, when they go in China, there are a lot of barriers to sell cars there. But when the Chinese manufacturers are coming in Europe, there are no barriers, which is simply not fair. So there is a need to be a reciprocity between the two power, Europe, at least European Union, but Europe, generally speaking, and China. And because of this, if you look to the prices on our figures and what the free Chinese brands are doing, you start understanding that things cannot go for long like that. It should be a kind of resettle of everything. But definitely, the participation was a surprise, a very good one. Some of the results are also very impressive. Some of them are very bad, in my opinion. However, having this EcoC one better than last year was a big surprise, because that is always a discussion how the WLTP is designed. And we at AUTOBEST, we've been always very vocal against the way WLTP was designed by the European Commission. I personally told them directly. Of course, I'm not a popular person in the Brussels for this reason, but you know, it's easy to understand. if you have a WLTP cycle, which is not taking into consideration, for instance, using heating, using radio, using Navi system, it's in my opinion, at least mine, I think I'm here in line with many, if not all of you, it's stupid. We, as civilized people, we are using our cars with such a huge pleasure, using our connectivity on board. We love to hear voices in our car. We love to drive in a very comfortable, thermically speaking, in a safe way. So what kind of measurements for the modern era could be without all these, let's say, normal devices, normal connected technologies? So that's the reason that we've been very clear against this approach. And that's also a good space for EcoBest Challenge to prove it, that obviously, most of the time, the WLTP, it's a bit too optimistic. And that's the reason, by the way, to Škoda to change it from one time to another time, because re-homologating, it's easily to find a different figure.
And after presenting the results from this 4th edition, what is your message to the industry, and what do you hope to see in next year's challenge, in the 5th challenge? We
hope, but you know, Liv, I will answer to this question, but I think you have another raised hand.
Yes.
And that's a good question for the last one.
So I only see fast and bold. I don't know who is behind that great name.
The one and only.
You need to unmute yourself, or maybe we can do that.
Yes. Hello,
Hi.
everybody. It was a really very nice conference to everybody, not only for the motoring journalists. I wanted to ask actually to especially Dan and to Leonardo also, what do you think about or EcoBest challenge process can be in the future a kind of new rule for European Commission green controllers? This is my question. Because we had done maybe the best, how can I say, real range info center for the next future.
Thank you, Okan. That's a key question. The answer is we hope yes. By the way, we had, and that is not secret, the names are secret, we have some technical advisors, which are really prominent personalities in the industry, which are advising us about what we do in terms of technical achievements. And all of them keep telling me that EcoBest Challenge has the unique chance in Europe to become the new standard of real range, and all these real indexes to become the rule of the industry. If in a comparison, in a nutshell, is like what was Euro NCAP. If we remember, was introduced by Max Mosley, and to be very clear, before Euro NCAP, the car industry was performing crash tests. It was not like the first time, but Euro NCAP came with this independent approach. It's exactly what EcoBest Challenge is doing. And we are working heavily on going on this status. What we did this year is clearly in this respect. And I can also reveal here very clearly that we are in discussion with Bureau Veritas to certify, to get a certificate for one very important thing, which is happening actually in EcoBest Challenge. And this important thing is the consistency of the methodology. And we are advanced in this process. We proved to Bureau Veritas that we mean it. We said that we treat all the cars, no matter the brand, no matter the model, exactly on the same level, exactly testing in the same way. All the people drive all the cars on the same circuit, on the same route. So we are very consistent in what we do. Also, this human random factor is very well preserved to be respected. So the methodology, it's funny that all the technicians we discussed, they told us it's less important what kind of drive you do. The most important is to be consistent. And the Bureau Veritas told us the same. The important is to be consistent, to be exactly the same for all the cars, no matter what. That's the reason that we are obsessed in putting all the cars by alphabetical order, just to be sure that there is no way of interpretation. I know from the journalistic perspective, it's more difficult to look on all these figures and to find which is the best, which is the last, but that's the way it is. And yes, the answer is we strongly believe on our path together with our partners, we will manage to become the standard. And if we do that, then it is for the benefit of consumers. Because for the first time, keeping the joke I said before, which is not a joke, we will have the chance to see the real range, having the radio on, having the heating on, having the Navi on. What is wrong in that? By contrary, it's a part of our life. Hey, I want to be happy in my car. Why you are taking out all these goodies just because you want to be sure that WLTP is bigger? And if also this network for DC fast charging stations will grow, it will be really not important if the WLTP will be in reality coming to a real range. But you're right, our data are representing the best average European consumer reality. Thank you.
Leonardo, did you also want to say something?
Yes, thank you, Okan. We do our best to provide a technical solution, affordable, efficiency, accurate technical solution to help and support ECOBEST in his plan. And I enjoy that you all will try or will test our navigation software to try and to verify how accurate we are.
Thank you, Leonardo. Dan, do you remember still my previous question to you? Mm-hmm. Otherwise, I repeat that again.
Please repeat it. Sorry, I forgot.
No problem. So you've now talked a lot about the results of this 4th year's edition, but which message do you want to give to the industry, and what do you expect to see in the next year's edition, in the 5th edition?
If it will be up to me to deliver a message, the message will be simply this one: go on, go forward, and go faster to the electromobility. Don't buy the bullshit of many idiots in Europe saying, no, it's not like that, it will take a long time. There is no time. The time is over. The time is over for diesel. We in AUTOBEST, we've been the very first 5 years ago to say this. I remember when we said first during the gala in Lisbon in 2017, many people told us, diesel is important for Europe. Where is diesel now? I think it's already gone. It's just a matter of time in few markets to still be, but it's not anymore relevant. So it's interesting that when you have the gala in Strasbourg, as you know, Liv, very well, it was 2 days after the vote in the European Parliament. So nowadays we have a vote of the European Parliament, we have a clear decision of the European Commission plus the European Council. So how naive you should be today to imagine that the electrification process is going to be stopped in 2026 when it is accepted the kind of review of the process. Yeah, it is a review of the process, but definitely things in Europe will go on. Remember what Alejandro Agag, the founder of Formula E, told us also in Strasbourg during the AUTOBEST Gala. He was very clear on saying there is no future even for e-fuels. Everything will be electrified. Even for Formula One, it's a big question about the future just because of the same reason. Yeah, obviously they can take out Europe from Formula One, no problem. But be careful, California approved the same, almost the same rules for electrification is the same year. So I expect US to come step by step, state by state. China is very, very advanced already. So that will be difficult to imagine the planet going in a totally different direction. Yes, we all agree that there are parts of the world like South America, for instance, or parts of Africa where the electrification process will be slow. That's for sure. But at least AUTOBEST, we are in this moment very focused in Europe. So my, if I may say, my invitation is exactly as I said, go forward and go faster for the electrification process, because the faster we go, don't forget to go as much as efficient as the faster we go. And if we all do follow this, including all the other ingredients I mentioned before, then we have a chance to be green faster. And by the way, here, and I'm just quoting Carlos Tavares again and Luca De Meo again, because they are also promoted a lot these ideas. We need green energy. If we don't have the green energy, then we go back in the loop with a lot of issues. And it's not only the car industry to do to go forward and faster. We also need to go forward and faster with the energy. And that's today, it's even a painful discussion. Again, I don't want to go, it's not our industry, but that's definitely a very painful discussion in Europe.
Thank you very much, Dan, for this strong message. And looking at the time, our press conference is coming to an end. And I want to thank all of you for showing so much interest in this press conference, in the results. And I hope to see all of you next year at the same time for the fifth edition. Thank you.
Thank you, Liv. Thank you all for being together today. You have all the results in the AUTOBEST.org, all the figures. So please, they are all free of rights, so you can use it according to your needs and wishes. And my simple request is just distribute the results to the European consumers. They will make their own choices. That's the key element of EcoBest Challenge. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, Dan.
Thank you. Thank you, Jean-Christophe.